Welcome back, bookworms. This is Mrs. K. I'm glad you could join me. Today, I'm going to share with you a legend about giants. Sounds scary, right? Well, they're really not. Actually, they're kind of funny. Let's listen as I read Finn McCool, The Giant of Knockmany Hill, written and illustrated by Tomie dePaola, and find out just what mischief they get into. In olden times, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folks was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Oonagh. They made their home on the top of Knockmany Hill. I love the leprechauns and the fairies. And the sheep, of course. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Oonagh didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning and knitting and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cucullin was coming. Oh my! Cucullin was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he had flattened a thunderbolt so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show all just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cucullin. Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cucullin swore by the green that he would never rest day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. Look at Finn back here running away. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard that Cucullin was in the neighborhood. But this time, Cucullin was sure to get him. So Finn left the causeway and sped off for Knockmany Hill, his house, and his darling Oonagh. "Finn, me love," said Oonagh, greeting him at the door. "What brings you home so early from your work?" "Ah, the chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing," said Finn. And since he was as honest as a summer day is long, he added, "And to keep out of the way of Cucullin, he's after me." Uh-oh. Well, Oonagh soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy, and then she set down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. "Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Oonagh as gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cucullin. Why, you even built our house high on this windiest of hills so you'd be able to spy him coming. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him." "Why, I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength." At that, Knockmany Hill gave a little dance. "He's coming," said Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. "Now hush," said Oonagh, "and give me a time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Oonagh then worked a charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm. Here you are. One around her, circling her heart, and the third one around her right ankle. Now nothing she did could fail. Look at the fairies. Next, she sent around to all the neighbors to borrow 1 and 20 iron frying pans. She hid them in 1 and 20 loaves of bread, and then she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she'd baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into fresh wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. "Now, me darling," she said, handing Finn some baby clothes, "put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember," she said at the last, "Cucullin's strength lies in his brass finger he has on his right hand. Now quick, into the cradle, because I hear that man mountain at the door." Look at Finn dressed like a baby. Oh my. "All right, woman," bellowed the giant at the door. "Where's that coward Finn McCool that I've been chasing after all this time?" "Well, well," said Oona with her sweetest smile. "Now, isn't that a shame? Finn was off working on the causeway when some important family affair called him away. But he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down?" Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. Look at him. Ooh, a little scared. "See this?" Cucullin said, pulling out what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. "This was a thunderbolt until I caught it and flattened it. And that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool too," said Oona. "That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby and you might be getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself." Cucullin peeked into the cradle. "Here," said the huge baby, looking back at him. "My," said Cucullin, "what a big boy." "While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat?" said Oona. And she put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or two of butter and a pile of cabbages. Oh my. Cucullin, who was as much of a glutton as he was a bully, popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite. Right down on one of the frying pans. Clang! "Wow!" shouted Cucullin. "What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are 2 of my teeth out." "That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats," said Oona. "Is it a bit too tough for you?" "Too tough for me?" shouted Cucullin. "I should say not. Just give me another." Cucullin chomped into another loaf and into another frying pan. "I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman. There's 2 more out," Cucullin hollered even louder. Look at the leprechaun going to wave the teeth. The baby began to holler too. "Hungry, hungry, hungry." "Oh, sweet dumpling," said Oona, and she handed baby Finn a loaf. And because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down. "More," said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. "He seems a strong lad," said Cucullin, getting a little worried. If this was the baby, the father must indeed be a bit stronger than Cucullin thought. "Ah, yes," said Oona, beaming. "Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those little white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear." Oh, boy. Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really the cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it into his mouth and ate it down. Cucullin was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed. He squeezed and squeezed and squeezed as he might. He couldn't get one drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. Oh boy. The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows, and when he finally calmed down, Cucullin said to Oona, "What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron. Let me see your choppers, baby." At that, baby Finn opened wide his mouth, and Cucullin stuck in his brass finger the very brass finger that was the secret of his strength. Uh-oh. I bet you can guess what's gonna happen. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then up Finn leapt and began to pound the daylights out of the poor, weak Cucullin. And that was that. Out the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone, let alone Finn McCool again. "Tea's ready, my love," said Oona, and Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. Yay! Well, bookworms, I hope you enjoyed this story. I'm so glad that Finn won the day. Now, when you get a chance, go to your local library and check out other books like this, or you can go to a bookstore and buy a copy for yourself. Thanks for reading with me. Until next time, bye. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. That way you'll know when my next video is out. See you next time.